Personally speaking, anime has always been an amazing medium that can still impress me even till this day. And even if the anime industry has felt a bit oversaturated in the past few years, there are still the occasional anime that will suddenly appear that provides you with beautifully emotional stories filled with profound messages to tell, while still paired with insanely beautiful animations as well. Violet Evergarden is that anime, and it's understandable why many would call it a masterpiece. However, this wouldn't make much for a video if I just outright say it's a masterpiece and ask you to just go watch it. In fact, it's not without faults, and I don't really think it's a quote-unquote masterpiece, but it definitely deserves a spot among the greats though. So today let's take a look at this 2018 anime series from Kyoto Animation, Violet Evergarden, and what makes this show so amazing. Before I start, let me tell you a story. A story about a light novel series written by Kana Akatsuki, who submitted her story into the Kyoto Animation Awards program under the novel category. This novel was about a collection of short stories surrounding the life of a young girl who helps people write letters. However, at the beginning, each chapter would tell a story that is completely unrelated to this young girl and simply followed the life of the client that she was ghostwriting for. So even though the story does portray this young girl as the main character, most of the time she's simply an observer watching at the side whose past we didn't really know about, with only occasional subtle hints that will be given to readers that she was once a soldier. But as you get deeper and deeper into the story, you slowly uncover more and more bits of her past that eventually sweeps you away in this emotional and heartfelt journey that is Violet Evergarden. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, because it wasn't an idea wholly conceived by Kyoto Animation. It was an actual publicly submitted work by someone not really that well known in the anime industry, and it just wouldn't feel right if I didn't at least go over the amazing work done by Kana Akatsuki, whose story would later be given a winter 2018 anime adaptation. Additionally, I also wanted to point out the difference in storytelling between the anime and light novel, because I've seen people complain about the beginning episodes of the series. Although I rarely follow the so-called 3-episode rule, which works for some anime but not most, and definitely not the case for Violet Evergarden, unlike what others say, because I think it's just down to the initial episodes being called boring, overrated or different by fans who may have had their expectations way too high. However, I personally don't have an issue with the different way the anime approaches the story. Not to say the story is different, it's just that the anime gives us the story and motives of Violet from the start. Whereas in the light novel, we are instead presented with this enigmatic girl whose past is only slowly revealed to us as the story progresses. In the beginning episodes of the series, we get a somewhat basic coming-of-age story where we are introduced to a post-war Violet who has to adapt to a civilian lifestyle after spending years as a military too, whose life was always dictated by the orders given to her by her commanding officer Gilbert. Now, it's important that I emphasize on the word too because her personality and the choices she makes are far more logical and mechanical rather than being empathetic and emotional, which is one of the driving points for the story of Violet Evergarden. Early on, we know that Gilbert is likely dead, but Violet doesn't really know about it, but she still tries her best to cope in this new world without him and his orders, and contemplates about the last 3 words that he left her, which is "I love you." But like I said just now, Violet is a girl with a very logical and mechanical way of perceiving things, so she can't understand the true meaning of those 3 words or the feeling behind it. This is obviously an exaggerated scenario, but she definitely has all the fundamental problems that many real-world soldiers experience. Trying to reintegrate into society after having to remove their empathy on the battlefield just to be capable of killing their enemies without remorse takes a toll on the human psyche. However, Violet's new guardian Hodgins then hires her to work at his new company where she eventually decides to become an auto-memory doll, a form of writing job where the so-called dolls would listen to the desires of various customers and produce written letters for them to send to their loved ones. Violet wants to become an auto-memory doll so she would be able to experience other people's emotions and hopefully learn how to convey those emotions herself. As she slowly learns to show a more empathetic and emotional side, she is able to become less doll-like and a person who's capable of feeling what others do. After the initial episodes of presenting the story that is essentially just exposition talking about Violet, the world itself, and nothing else, the plot does take a turn in how it portrays Violet's character development. Rather than just following Violet around all the time over an overarching story, we see her traveling around the country, meeting a variety of interesting characters, and learn about their stories as a way to indirectly show progress in her development. Honestly, this is what makes Violet Evergarden such a fantastic series to watch, where most shows tell a story over a set amount of episodes and is built up over a period of time before eventually come crashing down and make us cry our eyes out for one reason or another. Violet Evergarden instead condenses all of those build-up into individual episodes that is able to feel more impactful than most other shows I've watched that spans countless episodes. But it's able to work despite the 23-minute runtime is because of the initial episodes that serve as the foundation for the other episodes. Of course, the initial episodes preceding episode 1 doesn't really feel quite as powerful, but it feels needed nonetheless in telling the overall story. When you start moving past the main story per se and go into the individual storyline of those episodes, that's when you are able to truly experience the beauty of Violet Evergarden to its fullest. I even felt that the show kind of feels less eventful whenever it's the episodes where Violet was the focus. Not to say that her story is any less interesting or important. It's just that I became more entranced in seeing who Violet would meet next and what their story would be like, and how it's able to affect her growth as a character. Of course, she's still the main character and she's heavily involved in all the stories of the people she encounters. But when it's needed, she does become a secondary character to the story of any particular episodes. It's definitely a different way of doing things, but I enjoyed it a lot. We are able to see Violet through the eyes of someone else, mostly the client she meets, and we get to learn something from both Violet's perspective and from her clients as well. The story she experiences almost feels like a journey of self-improvement and discovery for her. A journey that will lead her to eventually break free from her emotionless doll-like shell. After each of her experience with a client, her journey of discovery feels real as we see just how much she's able to develop from the emotionless girl we initially see, and feels more like a person who's capable of feeling what others do and understanding the different type of love. Okay, I know it sounds lame, but actually seeing Violet experience these different aspects of love, whether it's love from a family member, a love shown through affection, or endearing love from someone you really care about, just makes a character feel relatable and in a sense less mundane, and honestly, the way Violet Evergarden portrays human interaction is probably the best and most realistic I've ever seen in any anime. However, the experiences of Violet Evergarden aren't something that I personally understand all that well, and hopefully experiences that I don't ever have to go through. And I'm not saying that everything the series portrays is exactly true to life, but I have come across a few veterans commenting on how accurate the show is, and there's even a video by Animaki where veterans gave their reaction to the anime, and it's a really awesome video, so check it out if you're interested in this kind of topics. I guess I pretty much covered everything I can think of regarding the amazing story and characters of Violet Evergarden. Of course, being done by Kyoto Animation, the art pretty much speaks for itself. However, the character expressions were especially noteworthy at how they were able to distinguish each type of love we got to see throughout the series, with the subtle facial animations and movements of each of the characters. It's undoubtedly one of the most beautifully animated TV animes I've ever watched, and Violet is definitely one of the most insanely gorgeous characters I've ever seen too. Like, she seriously looks so goddamn beautiful, and whoever says otherwise will have to fight me. The music for Violet Evergarden was composed by American-born artist Evan Core. Although I have personally not heard of anything else done by him, but after hearing the OST from the show, I feel like it has a few parallels to the tracks that you would find in a Studio Ghibli movie or even something from Pixar. The music definitely holds just as much emotion as the animation and the story. It really helps to elevate the show and moves you emotionally far more than what a traditional soundtrack would be able to do. I also found that a few of the soundtrack use a typewriter as an accompanying instrument, which I found to be quite creative and amusing. The soundtrack definitely helps to make the already amazing show that much better and just raises it to another level. With that said, what are my thoughts on Violet Evergarden? Well, if you are an anime fan, then you definitely need to watch this because this series is much more than just a self-discovery type story with pretty visuals and audio. It provides a rare and somewhat exaggerated look at what society and the soldiers who fight to defend it have to face in a post-war situation, how they cope in readjusting to a normal citizen life, and the emotional trauma that comes with war. It also teaches a valuable lesson about trying to understand the concept and significance of love. Even if that love is lost, you can still seemingly find it from the least expected places or people. So if you haven't watched Violet Evergarden for whatever reason, even after 3 years, go watch it now. You definitely won't regret it. Let me know in the comments down below if Violet Evergarden deserves the praises that I'm giving it and what other animes made you cry the hardest. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed the video or dislike if you don't think so, and subscribe to Anime Roombai for more future content. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe everyone.